and welcome to the Monomoy Regional School District School Committee meeting on Thursday, September 14th. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:31 p.m. The first item on our agenda is public comment. Seeing none, we will move right along to the approval of the minutes for August 23rd, 2023. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? All right, moving right along to reports and discussion. The first item on our agenda is the discussion of the high school and middle school dress code policy regarding the hats, and Principal Police and Principal Dudley are here to join us. Welcome, ladies.
Good evening, Jen Police, Principal, Monomoy Regional High School.
Abby Dudley, principal of Monomoy Middle School.
I guess we're here to answer questions, to engage in a discussion which we didn't have an opportunity to do last time. That's my understanding. We were asked to attend
Yes,
this evening.
so
Here we are.
when you came last time and talked about the handbook and some of the updates, it was brought to the committee's attention that there is not consistency with the policy around hat wearing from the elementary school to the high school. And so instead of trying to go round and round just ourselves, we thought we would bring both of you back. Jen Kelly was here and she helped us understand the elementary's perspective, but just getting your perspective from the middle school and from the high school
Sure.
Would be very helpful.
Sure.
Thank you.
So, I mean, the high school, the hat policy has been in place for 4 years?
Yeah, well, we're going into 4, yeah.
Going into 4 years. So the only requested change would have been at the middle school. So the reasoning behind this, before I go into the hats, I just want to say that for myself as a principal and an educator, while this is important, I just want it to be clear that there are many other things involving like actual academics that are more important to me than the hats. I feel like that needs to be stated. But our reasoning behind wanting to change the policy is really around the social emotional well-being of the students. So the research that we looked into, and I also was at a school in Oregon where we made this change in policy from no hats to hats. It was really successful, so I've seen this through. But the option to wear hats can have an impact on the students' level of comfort at school, their ability to feel like they are themselves. I even asked like a couple students that I know are hat wearers. We do let the kids wear hats out at fresh air time. So students themselves, I feel more like myself. They mentioned if you get a bad haircut, no one will notice. Bad hair day, no one can say anything. I feel stylish. I feel like I can express myself. Keeps the hair out of your eyes. And then these are like the reasons that ring most true to me. A couple students said, I feel more confident when I'm wearing my hat. And then the one that really hit home was a child who I know every second that he is allowed to have his hat on, he wears it. And he just said, there's a sense of security when I'm wearing my hat. Something else that I think is important to consider is within certain students' educational plans, there have been times where students have that written into their plans, whether it be for a social emotional reason or something related to health. There's, as we try and implement our rules and expectations consistently, like for those students, there's a othering of the kids that are able to wear their hats, and then it becomes problematic around the staff, right? So if you have a special plan to wear a hat and there's a staff member that's not familiar with you as substitute, then you're having to constantly pause and explain your reason behind wearing the hat.
I could just say that from the high school's perspective, this was something that we started to engage in dialogue like back in, I think, 2018. I think I was still a counselor at the time, and we were starting to see this rise in 504 accommodations that included hats. And when you start to dive deeper into it, there's research behind that supports that's part of a student's identity. And sometimes asking them to check a piece of their identity at the door every day can be hurtful. And, there are some things that we coach and educate around wearing a hat. Just for example, in the morning during the pledge, it's stated in the classroom, please stand, remove your hats for the Pledge of Allegiance. If it's an athletic event and the national anthem is playing, please remove your hat for the playing of the national anthem. So I think that there are some conversations that are happening around when it's appropriate to wear a hat and when it's not appropriate. I think we're kind of moving through this time where, there's these societal norms around hat wearing that can be really difficult for us to sort of combat that when you can walk into a restaurant and people have them on, or a store. So we become the outlier, and that was some of the research that we started to engage in, and that's kind of the background. And I actually grabbed some B-roll footage. If you're interested in seeing what it looks like on a day-to-day basis, I had our Mr. Cass film like 40 seconds of passing yesterday. I said, can you just get me some B-roll? And I didn't even tell him why, and he said, where? I said, anywhere. So he filmed passing, and I have it if you'd like to see what it actually looks like. I'm happy to play that. Is that a yes? Okay.
Abby, have a lot of children, because you started that this year at the middle school, have a lot of children been wearing hats?
We did not implement
Oh.
the hat based on, I wanted to make sure that it's comfortable with the school committee.
Okay.
That they would if they could.
Perfect.
Let's start over again. And this is about a 40-second clip of our students waving. There's Ryan. Hi, Ryan. I want to talk about the student in the blue sweatshirt after this ends.
They love the camera.
Oh, yeah, any opportunity, right? That's just a 40-second clip. The student in the blue sweatshirt who had his hood on, he had sunglasses written into his 504, which he's been wearing for the last 2 years, and he's now removed his sunglasses. He does wear his hood still, but there's been some progress there. Just wanted to comment on that.
Excellent. Any questions, comments?
Just thank you for coming.
Absolutely.
Ms. Sebert-Long?
So I really appreciate the follow-up. Jen, I don't think you were here at the last meeting.
I think I left because
Yeah, or you
we
left,
presented
but you wouldn't
first.
have a chance
Yeah.
Once they were laid out.
Yep, fair enough.
That's when it was like, okay, these are not all the same.
Absolutely.
And I think that's definitely one of the concerns, because we're trying to teach the kids from grassroots up,
Fair enough.
and kind of have similar district
Policy, yep.
policies. Yeah, exactly. And of course, across the board, they're not going to be all the same. You're different ages, all the different things. And I can see the progression to the high school, and I'm well aware of what that policy was, with it's at the teacher's discretion. And I can see that progression because I think as the kids get older, they're more mature, and I think they're able to make those decisions and respect their teachers for whatever their decisions are in the classroom. So in the high school, I see it as a natural progression. What was interesting is the adamancy about them not being worn in the elementary school on both policies, and how hard it is to work on that.
Absolutely.
And there are social emotional issues in the elementary school. And if this is such a huge deal for social emotional, why is it not happening at the elementary school level? There's an argument for that. So there's no research for the elementary school kids, but there's research for the middle school. So that's a question that arises from this conversation. There's a lot of reasons why we ask students not to wear certain things in school.
Absolutely.
One of my main points was growing up, and I'm not that old, it was a sign of respect. When you go into a building, when you go into a restaurant, and I think as parents, we're really challenged. For me personally, as a parent, not everyone's a parent, but it's challenging to reinforce and be that person to set those ground rules and that level of respect and those values when it's not reinforced. And there's a lot of places where it's not reinforced, but the school system, in my opinion, is a place where something as simple as this could be reinforced. That being said, I'm listening to the reasoning behind it. So for me, the consistency for the reasoning behind the middle school versus the elementary school is still not there. I'm going to put it out on camera. My kid had lice last year, and when I had the person come, she said Monomoy is one of the leading school districts with lice. So I was like, ooh, like that freaked me out. But, we don't report it. We don't ask that it's technically reported. It's not a communicable disease. There's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't label anybody. It is just one of those weird things. So, what's the best way to pass that around?
Yeah.
So, we ask kids not to wear hoods.
Absolutely.
But a hood may make a child feel secure or safe. They may have an IEP where they're allowed to wear sunglasses or chew gum,
Yep.
and that's specific to them, and we're certainly not going to discriminate against them because that's what they need. But no student in the class should question that. If that's in their IEP,
Right.
that they get to do that, that's their private plan. So I don't see that as a problem because that's their private plan. And we do a very good job, I think, of protecting our students and their individualism and their needs within the school district. So I guess, I don't know, it would be nice if it was supporting what the elementary school worked so hard for to get up through the middle school. There was kids with 4 hats in the high school. So most kids,
They don't wear them.
you know what I mean? It's not that the hat wearing is an issue in the sense that they're hitting each other. It's not silly like that.
Right.
But it just maybe I'm old fashioned, but I'm not old. It's respectful to take your hat off when you go into a building, into a restaurant, and I just really strongly feel that, and I don't feel like there's enough evidence behind or research behind letting a child have a voice. There's lots of ways we can let kids have voices, but help the parents out a little bit too. Like, help us teach our kids to be respectful and kind and honest and caring. And it does, in my heart, I feel like it starts at the very beginning, at the simple things. And when you're talking about elementary school kids, it's the simple rules, it's the little things. So I'm not intending to make it a big deal. I just was very surprised by it. And I think I was probably the most outspoken person on the board. And I don't care. I mean, I feel very strongly about it. I just feel like it's less on the identity and more on the social impact of students. And it honestly caught me by surprise. It really did. I think there's a lot of things that the district has been doing over the last few years that's been great towards acceptance and diversity and helping kids, helping equity and keeping everything open and for all of us to be accepting. And so this isn't about that. It's simply, it's respect and structure, and we don't make our kids wear uniforms. They get to wear whatever they want to express themselves. We teach them to speak out, to defend, to speak up. We have so many clubs for them to do all those things. There's so many opportunities for them to have a voice. So that's just my view. That's just my view and how I feel about it. So that's all I got. Thank you both for coming. And Ms. Sedley, I think you'd left before we
They
went over
both
all
had.
of them, so.
Yeah.
I'm just going to close with this, and
Yeah.
I appreciate you saying that you honor and feel that, the value of just simple respect is really important to you, and that's the hill that I'm willing to die on. Like, that's it. It's been the theme of all of our town hall meetings this year. It was the theme of my graduation speech. Feel free to go back and look at it. It's recorded and saved. And, you know, your moral compass is something that's developed over a long period of time. It's not one moment in time. I'm not, and where we might disagree just a little bit, and I still respect you. I'm not sure that that the hat is the hill to die on, but the way we treat other people, like, that's the one that I'm willing to die on. And I will fight for that, no matter how long that takes, because I think that that's what we should stand for. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you.
Ms. Finnegan?
I just wanted to add, I want to go back to you two administrators and what a great job you're doing. And I think that we need to trust our leaders and what you're doing. And I think you're doing an awesome job. And I'm sure that other people on the committee feel the same. So I agree. The hat thing is not the thing that we should be spending a half an hour on. But thank you so much.
We're happy to be here. Thank you.
Mr. Russell?
Thank you. Jackie, well said.
Absolutely.
I have the same feelings, and it is because I'm too old. And so I can't really defend that. But many things new to me, and it's unfortunate. So we can have a 504 that says the boy or the girl needs to wear a hat to feel himself comfortable. That's
just an
that's
example.
sad.
Yeah.
And including, I chaired plenty of team meetings, that IEPs would be the same way. I just, and it's just a thing, and it caught me by surprise also. And I know the culture has changed so much in 25 years as far as dress. There doesn't seem to be any North Stars anymore in school. There's no standard. If hats were such a minor thing, but at least it was something the kids automatically would take them off as they get off the bus, as they would in church or as they would at home. Now it's, and surprising editorial. At times I've picked up grandkids, and I'm amazed as far as the standard of dress of class. I have wonderful kids all over, and I'll include the staff too. There's a point at which it's like Saturday going to the rubbish place to clean up. So I should hear about that probably. But I just feel that that's standard. We've lost some of the ones that we try to hold on to that might have been silly, to the point where, matter of fact, that little clip, I don't know whether that promoted no hats, because I only saw 3 hats. Oh, so whether or not the kids here at the high school decided on their own they don't want to wear hats, but so that's my 10 cents. I think that there are some standards that we've just, why give up on them? And we do, and the next step is something other good about it, whether or not we're good enough to say, hey, let's let all the seniors go home for an hour during JOSM. We've had so many of those good things we've said, hi kids, we're going to offer you this because it was our idea, and all we're looking for is for you to do the best you can at school. We have no way to measure, well, you must, but I don't know if that turned things around. That's one example. But so, with too much, I want to speak, because I did comment last week, and everyone is welcome to their feelings, but that to me was something, we were losing nothing by keeping it. Thank you.
Ms. Games?
Yeah, I just have a question at the high school level, because it's at the discretion of the teacher. Was the thought behind that maybe getting them ready for college or for the world? Because some people are going to let you wear hats, some people aren't. I'm kind of curious why.
No, I think it's just honoring the autonomy of the classroom teacher. I think that's important in our profession, to give teachers autonomy, that's their classroom space. And that's one of them that we do give them leverage on.
Okay. So I guess if a student said, I'm going to wear my hat in Ms. Jones's class, but Ms. Smith, they just learned to say, I can do it here and I don't do it here.
They do.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Well, see, Ritland.
Well, I just have a question with, I think what you're clarifying is that if there's a student, it's not in their 504, but they have social emotional attachment to the hat, and it's teacher's discretion to have it taken off, then what happens?
Essentially.
So now,
But I think that those are things that are communicated between counselors and teachers, that if there is a unique need,
protect
that's
that
something
student.
that's communicated to perhaps the teacher that wants their classrooms to be a hat-free zone. And I think that that's something that would be accommodated for. That doesn't necessarily have to be written into a plan.
But it would have to be brought to their attention.
Yes. Yeah.
Anything else?
I'd just like to thank Terry. I'd like to thank Terry for his support, and also your North Star analogy was right on. Thank you for that.
Can I just
Hey.
say something about implementation?
Sure.
We did not start off the year wearing hats. We taught our same dress code policy, but did tell them not to draw on each other with Sharpies.
Perfect.
My concern for us in changing this expectation for students, especially at this point in the year, is that we've just spent the past 2 weeks really strategically, intentionally, and thoughtfully helping the students understand the expectations of the school. I wouldn't be comfortable changing the hat policy tomorrow. I think it would undermine all those other expectations that we taught. And I do know with a big change like this, we would have to be extremely intentional on the way it's taught. I mean, I'm talking like promo videos, here's what not to do, here's what to do. So my thinking is that even if this is approved by the school committee, that this would not be something that we would be implementing. Like, my thought would be perhaps on a trial period towards the end of the year and then move to the next year.
Is it written in your handbook, or did you take it out?
It was written in the handbook and we took it out.
Okay, so it's currently not in the handbook.
Correct, but when we provided the students with the expectations, that was a piece of the expectation.
Okay. So, thank you for coming. I have thought a lot about it. I've talked to some of our administrators about it, and I understand what Jackie and Terry are saying. If my children have hats on, if I have a hat on, if my husband, we take them off respectfully when I, just as I was taught when I was little. I think that this conversation does teeter on, I trust our administrators, and I feel like they make decisions for our students in their schools that is in the best interest of our students, and to allow the students to be able to engage in their learning in the best way possible. And to allow some kids to wear hats and not to wear hats, I understand the respect part, but I also think that the number one goal is the learning and the academics and the engagement that our kids have in all of our buildings. So I think that it was nice to have this discussion, but I want to trust you as administrators to make these choices for the kids that are inside your buildings. I think we're kind of at a standstill. I mean, if you're 2 weeks into the school year, so you're not feeling comfortable to shift it now, unfortunately, but something that you would look for to shift for next year. And it's been happening here. So I think that, we're status quo for this year, but as a school committee member, I trust you as administrators, and there's reasons why you make decisions and allow. I feel like the hat wearing, the dress policy is more of that, like, day-to-day running of the schools, which is kind of not in our purview, even though we support it, but that's not our decision to make. It's more of a decision to be made at the schools, and I think that's why there's a discrepancy in what it looks like at each building. And even if this had come into play at the middle school, it would have looked different than the elementary school and the high school. So, so thanks again for coming, and I guess we'll hear about, the pilot program next year. And any other final thoughts, questions?
I was just going to make a recommendation. I mean, we've made changes to handbooks in the middle of the year before. We've made changes to policies in the middle of the year before. So, I mean, I think the opinion of the committee and both of you is that it's not really a big issue, it's just a hat. So, but I will leave it, obviously, we'll leave it to you guys to make that decision, whatever, I mean, Jen, you're all set, but for Ms. Dudley, whatever makes sense for you administratively to introduce it, it's fine, but you don't have to wait till next year. I mean, if it's not a big deal, we can change the handbook, but do we vote on the handbooks?
We don't vote on them.
Right, so they're just updates, so,
Right.
yeah.
So,
I
if you
mean-
want to shift it, it could be a Christmas present.
Maybe a birthday present
Maybe.
to me in April.
That's right.
Christmas might be too soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ladies. All right.
Thank you.
Well, I think, Jen, you're
Open
gonna-
campus lunch, I think, is
Yes,
next on the
please.
agenda.
Update on
Yep.
MRHS Open Campus
Sure.
Program.
And I think I know that there is some interest, I think probably the largest interest is how are we supporting kids without driver's licenses? I know that was one of the agenda items that we really wanted to talk about.
Yes.
So, tomorrow we finish our last town hall meeting. So we met with our seniors, they were actually first, they were on Monday. And information was rolled out to families, I think it was Tuesday I sent it out. And we're using a digital form this year where parents, I was a little bit uncomfortable with the handwritten signature for obvious reasons, so the email went to parents' emails only, so they had to respond digitally, whether they were supporting their child leaving, as well as signing off on the liability waiver. And I think I have about 75% of the responses back, because we're planning on starting, I think it's the 25th, September 25th. And just to follow up, something that we are going to try is 2 of our staff members are willing to, on day 1, they're going to provide one of our new athletic vans or activity vans is what I really should call them, because it's for everything. So they are going to provide that opportunity for students to sign up for it. We are going to have to limit it to just a couple locations for obvious reasons. I mean, they only have an hour, and obviously they will stay in town, in the town of Harwich. So that's exciting. We'll see where that goes.
Great.
That's my most recent update. Yes, Ms. Gray.
That
You're
is
welcome. I know that
awesome.
was important to you.
That was very important.
got
And since I never get the emails, I just have to give you guys a different email, because when you said you sent that out, I'm like, oh.
I was wondering why you haven't responded yet.
'Cause I never got
And I
it.
was thinking maybe you were waiting for this, but
No. But I'll catch up. Thank you.
I'll check your email. No problem.
Any other questions, comments? Ms.
I
Gaines?
just want to thank you too, because that was a concern I had.
Yeah.
I wanted everybody to feel included. So I thank you for that.
Yep. And I think we'll see if it's accessed, like, I have no idea if it's going to be 1 student, if it's going to be 12. There's 16 passenger vans. We have a couple faculty members that are willing to rotate every other day 1, which is about once every 3 weeks, essentially, 3.5 weeks. So
And thanks to them too.
Yeah, and I think it's important that we stay on top of this initiative, and perhaps once a quarter, I'm coming back and just sort of reporting out, because it is vetted based on academic progress as well as conduct and attendance and tardies and all those good things. So I think just to, in the spirit of transparency, I think it's important that we sort of make that a rolling agenda item once every marking term.
That would be great.
No problem.
Any other comments, questions?
Thanks, Jen.
No problem. Yes.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Oh, sorry,
just one
Ms.
other
Gabe.
question, because we were talking about social emotional. I really, again, appreciate this, because I remember when you were here last time, some of the kids just need a break outside of this building, and I think that's another plus to this. So I just happen to have a kid who is that kind of kid that just needs to go
Yes, you do.
have a break.
Yes, you do.
Yes, so I
And
appreciate
and I
that.
think something else that's exciting is we're only, 2 weeks in, and we have over 100 seniors placed in internships already. So
Oh,
that's really
excellent,
exciting. Yeah.
wow.
Yep. Thank you, Sherry Armstrong.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Have a good night. All right, moving right along to the school improvement plan at Chatham Elementary School. Principal Kelly.
Hello. Good evening, everybody. I'm Jen Kelly. I am the principal at Chatham Elementary School, and I am here to present our school improvement plan for this year at CES. So this is our third year in a 3-year improvement plan. This plan, we started it when I started, so I'm going into my third year here. We have 3 major tenets for our improvement plan, the first being foundational academic skills, mostly in the area of math and reading. Our second big area was that of intervention and introducing a multi-tiered systems of support program. And then finally, community involvement and engagement. I'm going to start with what I consider to be the most important, and that is the academic skills. So we have really been working very hard for the last 3 years looking at our instructional practices, best practices, and how we can move our kids forward in comparison with state and national norms. In 2021, we began the ARC reading program, and I know I've been here a few times to talk to you about the amazing results we've had there. But on the document that I shared with you, you can just really see in numbers just how powerful it has been. When we began the program in 2021 in the fall, there is a assessment with the ARC program called the IRLA. According to that, in 2021, only 33% of our students were reading at a proficient or above level. At the end of last school year, 72.4% of our students were reading at a proficient level. So we completely flipped those statistics in 2 years, and we're really proud of that. We also shrunk our emergency level students, so those are students who are considered to be 2 years or more behind their grade level. When we began the program, we were at 40% of our students were 2 or more years behind. At the end of last school year, only 13% of our students. And we're a very small school, so that's like 3 kids. So we're very proud, and I have mentioned before at this forum, it is really due to our teachers. The program is a heavy lift. There's a lot to do with it, but they have done so graciously and continue to hone their skills every day in the program, and we're seeing the results with our students. I also was able to share some of our MCAS, MAP, and IRLA scores for our grade 3 and 4 students. Last year's grade 3 class, which is our current grade 4 class, these are, if I would have to say, grade levels that were most impacted by COVID, it would be these 2 grade levels. Our current 4th graders were in kindergarten when school shut down, just as they were beginning those early literacy skills. That particular class of students at Chatham Elementary School had our highest numbers of English language learners, of special education students, and many of them did not return for school the second year of COVID and were homeschooled. So we have an incredible battle that we're fighting with this particular group. If you look at the table that I provided, our scores in reading on the MCAS were not something that we're particularly proud of. Only 44% of our students last year were proficient above on MCAS. Again, this is a group that we're really working with. We have extra interventionists working with this group, and we are very hopeful that this year we're going to raise those scores significantly. Our last year's 4th grades, or our current 5th graders, stayed pretty much on par as far as MCAS results. 62% of those students were proficient or above. Obviously, we would like to see that much, much higher, and we're going to continue to work with our students in that area. But yes, so that is all of that. So that is the reading. We are continuing to use the ARC program. We're continuing to have our consultants come in about once a month and work with our teachers to further develop our skills in those areas. We also have implemented DIBELS testing, which is a phonics assessment, and we're using that with all students K through 3 as part of the state dyslexia regulations, but it's also giving us more information about our kids. So we're really working very hard. We have a lot of things in place to improve our reading instruction. On the other side of the coin, we have math. One of the areas that we recognized has been problematic, and when talking with the middle school as well, students not knowing their math facts, we have made a major effort to really encourage fact fluency, and we began using a program called Reflex Math. It was in its second year of use last year at Chatham Elementary School, and we really buckled down and really asked staff to really embrace the program. And if you look at some of the scores from there, in first grade, where they need to know their addition and subtraction facts 0 through 10, at the beginning of the year, they only had 7.1% of students had mastery. By the end of the year, 69.9% of them. So we had incredible growth, and you can see that is the same through all the different grades and the different expectations that they had. We are really trying to make sure these kids know their facts moving forward, because every math problem is made of smaller math problems, and they need to be able to compute. So, math is still a major problem for MCAS results. Last year's grade 3 class, which is our current fourth graders, only 22% of that class was proficient or above on the state MCAS. As for fourth grade, we had 56% of our students were proficient or above, which was actually a significant raise from the prior 2 years. In 21 and 22, only 45% of our students were proficient or above. So we saw a nice raise in fourth grade last year, and we're going to hope that we continue to do that work along with the reflex math that we're doing, and we are also working with a consultant, Dr. Allison Mello, this year, both schools, and really reworking our math programming so that we're using a guided math structure, which is more similar to how we're teaching reading now, in small lessons, and then breaking out and differentiating for the individual needs of our students. And so that is kind of our academic piece. I don't know if we want to pause, if you have any questions about all of that. I know it was a lot of information.
Any questions thus far, Ms. Gaines?
The ARC reading program, can somebody remind me, that was that big language arts program. When did we, was that 2019? So we approved it? No, it was that.
It was started right after COVID, 21?
Was it right after
Yeah.
COVID? I was trying to remember. So
Started
that would've been
21.
2020?
So this is our third year of
Oh, third year,
implementation.
okay, yeah,
So we're entering year 3 right now.
okay. All right, that was just my question. I was trying to remember, I remember that whole discussion, so, okay.
Okay. All right. So our second major tenet is multi-tiered systems of support. We went from really just overhauling the RTI system that we had in place, which was a little bit cumbersome. There were, lots and lots of pages and checklists, and we really tried to pare that down, number one. And number two, create a larger group at the table who is talking about all students in our school. In fact, we have really taken the charge this year that we're not talking about all students, but we're talking about each student. Sometimes when you say all, some people fall through the cracks. Fall through the cracks.
Close enough.
But when we take the approach of each child, we are making sure that each child is getting exactly what they need. So that's our little mantra this year, not the other one. Finally, with community involvement and engagement, this has been, we've been so successful. We're so proud of ourselves for this. We have enhanced our club offerings. We have made it a mission to make sure that every single student at Chatham Elementary School is participating in at least one extracurricular activity that we provide. We're getting them rides home if if a parent isn't available to pick them up. We're getting them into the rec and the Monomoy programs. We are reaching out to families. Our ice cream social to welcome everyone back in the beginning of the school year was the most well-represented event that we've had in my 3 years. It was really heartwarming, and we just are seeing more and more families come in every day into our school, really representing the diversity that is Chatham Elementary School, and it's really, I'm going to get a little teary, but it's really nice to have happen, so we're really excited about that. So those are my 3 big areas that we're working on, and so much falls under all of those. Throughout the rest of my document is really kind of our detailed steps. At this point, almost everything we have done or that I've laid out, we have done, and we are just continuing on improving and working on that. The one big thing that is going to be new this year with community engagement is we're looking to start a cultural night at Chatham Elementary School, where we'll be combining some school-related activities and then asking families to come in and share about their cultures and where they're from. And so it's been a great start to our year, and we know that it's going to be, a great year ahead. So if you have questions, I am here for you.
Questions?
Just a comment. I've spent quite a bit of time there. You and your teachers really do run a fantastic school, so thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. I love my job, so I really do, so.
We'd like to hear that.
All right, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.
You too. All right, moving right along to our first reading of our school committee goals for this year. So in your packets, you have the updated goals with the changes that we requested from our last meeting. Any questions, comments? Ms. Gaines?
My comment, thank you very much for adding my goal number 1 from last time, because I'm going to attend, the Housing Summit coming up on October 26th. So I stand behind my statement and look forward to reporting out on that at that meeting. So thank you again, committee, for adding that in there to include the families as well. Yep.
Perfect. Any other comments? All right, so it can come back for a second read at our next meeting and vote. The next item on our agenda is the transfer of the after prom party committee funds to the Harwich Children's Fund.
Good evening, school committee. Michael McMillan, I'm school business manager. So there's 2 agenda items here for 2 votes related to the after prom student activity account, which is one of the student activity accounts here at the high school. So the after prom party is an event that happens every year after prom, and although it is closely related to activities that the school does, it's not actually overseen or run by the school district, and nor is it driven by students. So strictly speaking, it is not a student activity. So we've been trying to resolve this issue, and the Harwich Children's Fund has agreed to oversee that process and work with community members to continue running the after prom party, and so that will allow this continue to go and be managed in the correct sort of financial accounting process. So to achieve that, we're asking for 2 votes. 1 to approve the transfer of funds over to the Harwich Children's Fund, and then once that's done and the account is cleared out, we can close the account, both of which require your votes.
Okay, so we'll start with the transfer of after prom party committee funds to the Harwich Children's Fund. Do I have a motion?
Just a question,
I'm sorry,
though.
a question?
Michael, for my information, when a family group get together and they sponsor the prom party, all goes well, and there's net sums left over.
Yep.
And they're mostly seniors, so they're not going, so what happens to that money that belonged to the senior class kids? Is it transferred into the next class?
So each year the after prom party committee has had an aim of passing a balance to the next year, and so that's what's left in the account. So they've always tried to keep money there so that the next party will start with a balance,
Okay.
and that's what these funds are.
Yep.
Ms. Gaines?
So I know I've had 2 kids graduate and go through this after prom. So if we're moving it to Harwich Children's Fund, and I'm trying to remember how this works. So a group of parents get together and they take the planning of the event. Is there any authorization that needs to happen? Like, how does Harwich Children's Fund know if Sally Sue wants to take out X amount? I mean, how's that going to work? Is there any criteria?
So the people on the current after prom party committee are going to work with the Harwich Children's Fund. So instead of working with us to spend the money, they'll work with the Harwich Children's Fund to spend the money.
Okay, and I'm sure
yeah.
everybody's all trustworthy, but I guess so they'll just submit names. Somebody says, these are the people that are in
Yeah.
charge, because it's going to change every year,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, so the Harwich Children's Fund will oversee them because technically it'll be their funds. They'll be working with
The
the
group of parents.
volunteers from the parents, and also the volunteers change. So you
Right,
have
yep.
volunteers this year, but you have different volunteers next year. And so that responsibility will fall on the Harwich Children's Fund to make sure the funds are spent appropriately.
Okay, so then they'll handle all the
Yeah.
reimbursements and
Yes,
all of that
exactly.
paperwork
Make
goes
sure
to
it's all
them.
done.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right, that's fine.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Comment? All right, I'll entertain a motion
For the first one?
for the, should we have to do them separate? Should we?
Two separate
Yes,
votes, yeah.
for the first one.
All right, I'll do it. I would like to make a motion to approve the transfer of $5,578.14 from the After Prom Student Activity Account to the Harwich Children's Fund.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And do I have a motion for the second motion?
I'll do it. I'd like to make a motion to approve the closure of the after-prom student activity account.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain? Opposed? Sorry.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving right along to the subcommittee representative and liaison reports. Do we have a report from our strategic planning subcommittee?
We do, yep.
Mr. Clark?
Outline and our budget. So we're looking at a date of the 27th of September, planning meeting with TLA, Robin, Scott, myself and Scotty, just to kind of plan the process, go from there. And then the official process will look to begin in October of this year and conclude in February of 2024. And the first step would be identify the strategic development committee, put a committee together with 20 members, various groups. And then the budget, because they did add a few more focus groups, the total budget for the whole thing would be $13,850, which is kind of in the middle of the $9,000 and $18,000. So that's the total cost.
Okay. Any discussion, questions, comments? Ms.
Yeah,
Gaines?
just a quick understanding. So they added 2 focus groups, and just curious, why was that? I mean, what was their thinking?
Would be more of a question for Scott.
Oh, okay.
who
All right,
kind
that's
of-
fine.
Oh, Robin could,
Or
Robin.
Robin too, could,
Yeah. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Robin Millen, Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment for the district. So when we brought the first proposal to the administrative team and some of the other partners that we've been working with, there was a suggestion to add a middle school focus group for the middle school students, because I guess in the profile of the graduate work that you had done previously, the middle school actually had a lot of very participatory students who gave a lot of very good ideas, and so they wanted to add that as well. The second one was to add a virtual meeting, I believe was the second one, to add a second parent virtual meeting instead of an in-person meeting. Again, from past practice that you had been engaged in before, it seemed to be very well attended, and so we added that one as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so this, so the budget is up for a vote for tonight. So do I have a motion to approve the strategic planning budget? You can do it.
can I make the motion?
Of course you can.
That we approve the budget for the strategic plan of $13,850.
Do I have a second?
I would second that.
Any discussion, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay, wonderful. All right, moving right along to the policy subcommittee report.
So we met on Monday, and we received some policies that need to be updated, and we are going to bring them to the committee at the next meeting for a first read. And we'll continue to do that over the next couple of weeks through the fall, or meetings through the fall.
Any questions? All right, moving right along. The negotiation subcommittee, Ms. Finnegan is not here, so I'll just give you a quick update that we have been meeting with the administration to review and discuss the current contract and just being prepared to move into the negotiation season with our union. So more to come. Questions? All right, so although Dr. Carpenter is not here, Dr. Millen is going to give us our superintendent's report this evening.
So good evening again, everyone. Obviously, Dr. Carpenter is not here, but I know he is watching me, and he gave me a full report, I'm sure, in a grade tomorrow, but he did say, remember, every minute matters, so I have purview over what I decide to share with all of you. But first are the recognitions. So we want to thank Chatham Chambers or the Chatham Chamber of Commerce and the Harwich Chamber of Commerce for preparing welcome bags for all of our new teachers and staff. The bags included guidebooks, town information, small items from local businesses, and they were given out at new staff orientation prior to the start of school. So we thank them for that. I'm just going to read his report, but I will just go with what he wrote here. So opening day, students returned to school last Tuesday following the long Labor Day weekend. We are now into the full new week of the school year and are off to a great start. It is so refreshing to have our students back in the building and have them full again. We want to put a thank you out to the combined efforts of the Cape Cod Collaborative and including Faith Reshnek in our central office, our district transportation coordinator. So this year was perhaps the smoothest so far when it comes to our buses running on time in those starting days. So a special thank you to all of them. Summer incident and school responses was on the agenda as well. So as many have seen, the district attorney announced that 2 juveniles have been indicted on racially motivated attempted murder charges from an incident that happened at Goose Pond in Chatham in July. Superintendent Carpenter noted in a statement that we put out to the community, the 2 juveniles are not enrolled in Monomoy, but many at Goose Pond that day are our students. We have worked closely with the Chatham Police Department over the summer to be prepared to support anyone impacted by this incident as students return to school. Superintendent Carpenter also included in that statement that the alleged actions are incredibly concerning and stand in stark contrast to the values we hold as a school district and a community. Monomoy continually strives to be welcoming, safe, and inclusive to all, and we believe in celebrating diversity, promoting empathy, respecting the dignity of every human being, and fostering understanding among all students, staff, and the community, including our families. Acts of hatred and violence are unacceptable, and we condemn any behavior that seeks to harm or marginalize others based on their race, ethnicity, and any other personal attributes. So before the return of school, we held a meeting to discuss this incident with our Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Advisory Council, specifically talking about how to best support the students given the pending news. All staff were also advised of the incident and given some guidance on how to guide students' conversations given the charged nature of this topic. We also wanted to make sure that all students and staff had an opportunity to talk to somebody, share concerns, and feel safe if needed. The superintendent will be meeting with the high school leadership team on Monday to discuss additional programming that we can add to the high school to support our values of being a welcoming, safe, and inclusive community. Similar conversations will continue at our next IBAC meeting as well. So I have help on this one. So the profile of the graduate rollout is his other agenda item here tonight. So on Wednesday, September 30th, we held this year's convocation with all of Monomoy staff in the high school auditorium. At convocation, Superintendent Carpenter officially shared the final product of the portrait of the graduate work that was done last school year. Monomoy's Portrait of a Graduate is a collection of skills, attributes, and characteristics that we are committed to developing in each of our students from preschool through graduation. And the 4 main themes of the Portrait of a Graduate are here on these wonderful posters that we have. So creative and critical thinkers, communicators and leaders, independent and confident learners, and engaged citizens. So Superintendent Carpenter wants to put a special thank you out to Ms. Jordan, who has done an outstanding job of producing the several posters celebrating the development of these traits in Monomoy students. You can see these posters in the hallways of each of our school buildings, and each of our classrooms also has a poster of the Portrait of the Graduate, and each staff member was given a Portrait of the Graduate lanyard to further emphasize these traits. So I just want to give Joy a chance to come and have you take a look at some of them. They're beautiful. I mean, I saw last night at the middle school with all the parents in the hallways. They were stopping, they were pointing to them, they were talking about them. It was, we had like a proud mom moment at that point. Yes. So there you go.
Joy Jordan, Community Engagement Coordinator.
I'm going to get out of your way. So there you go.
These are the posters that are in every single classroom as well as in general meeting spaces. So these are kind of all over the buildings. There are a series of individual photo posters with all of the different characteristics represented and all of the different buildings. It was like a game of mental Tetris, making sure every age group was represented and every building was represented equally and finding photos that matched the characteristics. So I have a couple samples of those here. It's hard to see these upside down. So here's another individual photo poster. So there's about 10 of these in every building, and then there's collage posters that represent each building and each characteristic, and each building I think has 2 or 3 of these. And our goal is to, we've asked staff to look for these qualities being represented throughout the year and continually update the imagery to even include this year's students seeing themselves on the walls as they're spotted exhibiting those characteristics.
Thank you. So there's also a whole dashboard or like folders of these print works, so you start seeing them in our tags of our emails and things like that, so that we continually reminding that this is a goal of our district. So the superintendent told the staff that there will be opportunities, and a lot of our work in my offices will be doing this as well later this year and the next year to work collaboratively at creating rubrics to identify what each trait should look like developmentally at each grade level, and then to determine how we will be assessing the development of these traits from preschool through senior year. So backward mapping this so that we have that kind of line of sight all the way through, because everybody teaches a senior. And that is my take on Superintendent Carpenter's report.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Comments?
Thank you. Great.
All right. So we do have a few action items. One is the boys ice hockey request for a preseason overnight trip to New Hampshire. We need to have a vote on that this evening. So I will entertain a motion. Ms. Gray?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the boys ice hockey request for a preseason overnight trip to New Hampshire. December 1st to December 3rd. Thank you, I was looking for that.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? All right. And then the second reading of policy BBBA/BBBB. Any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll do it. I'd like to make a motion to approve file BBBA, BBBB, school committee member qualifications oath of office.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second that.
Lots of seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Perfect. And one last, payment of prior year invoices.
So these are a list of 5 invoices that we've received after the close of the year and the because we hadn't encumbered the funds for them, we require your approval before we can pay them from this year's funds.
Any questions? Ms. Games?
Yeah, just one quick question. I know you've encumbered the funds. Is
So-
there a reason? I'm maybe like I guess the tuition, I think that's what that is. Course, is there a reason perhaps? I guess I'm looking at the dates here, so maybe, I'm just trying to figure out, it looks like it was taken back in March and April, but the signatures didn't get there until August, September, so.
So one thing is this, so these funds have not been encumbered. That's why we're here. So you've already approved, all the ones that were encumbered in
Oh,
last
I'm
year.
sorry. Okay,
You're approved. No, I mean,
misunderstood.
it's just just so, that's why I have to come to you, because you've already approved. Everything that was encumbered, you guys have
Okay,
already
I got it.
approved. So, but that was, we just did, it was the application was misplaced by the person and we never received it in time for it to be paid. But they haven't, but they have incurred the costs. It's within the employment contract, so we still have to pay it.
Okay. So just as a refresher, so it's part of the employment contract, so we
Yeah.
don't really, I guess, is it just loose that there's no timeline of turnaround? I just know
So,
working with
yeah.
A&F folks.
So it's
they
really
always
hard,
like to-
yeah. So
Okay.
we do, we email everybody out and we encourage staff to get their, applications in by the deadlines. But if there's ever a problem, 99 times out of 100, it goes fine and we get it and it gets paid. And just sometimes.
Okay, so you just
everyone-
have a rare, every
Yeah.
now and then, a rare misplacing
Yeah.
of it, okay. I just was curious if there was a policy, because I just know sometimes people have 30 days, or maybe 60 days to turn in a
Yeah.
reimbursement.
No, we don't have anything like
Okay.
that. It's hard as well because somebody's incurred costs. Do you want, we want to encourage professional development and
Yep.
people
Yeah,
to
it's kind
take
of- yeah.
courses, so it's hard if they've incurred those costs. But yeah,
Yeah, it's not
part of
about
me would
that.
love to have a deadline like that because it would
Okay.
make our life a lot easier because
Okay.
we wouldn't have to chase people.
All right, thank you.
Do I have a motion?
I move to.
Ms. Finnegan?
I move to pass payment for the prior year's invoices, fiscal year '23.
In the amount of?
I'm sorry?
In the amount of?
Oh, in the amount of $2,045.14.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, and that, we have had the presentation of warrants, so I look for a
Madam Chair, one more thing. Scott is looking for that, the planning committee, the strategic plan, for 2 members of the school committee. I realize I'm on the subcommittee, but it realistically would be hard for me to commit to all the focus groups and meetings if someone else is interested. I know he's looking for 2 members.
Okay,
I'm one,
okay,
so he only needs one more.
okay.
The question is, does it have to
Clarification?
be Harwich?
Should it be Harwich, it probably should be another Harwich member then, right? Okay.
Probably.
Clarification? So are you asking for somebody just to be as part of the committee, or to actually go to the focus groups?
Be on the actual planning committee as opposed to just our subcommittee, be on the actual committee to plan the strategic plan.
And do you have a schedule?
Yes.
And what is the schedule?
We do have a schedule.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you know when that is?
It's
Oh,
on the,
oh,
it's
is it
on the
in there?
first page, yep,
Oh, sorry.
yep.
Okay, let me find it.
There's the focus groups and then there's the 7 meetings.
Oh, I see what you're saying, okay. All
And
right.
Scott indicated that we didn't have to be at all focused.
The focus groups, I think we just go to one of them, number 4.
Okay.
But then we would be, people want to sit at the meetings.
All right. So you're just putting it out now?
Just putting it out.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
I'm
that's
not
fine.
saying I
I'll
can't,
take a
it
look
just
and
would
see
be
what I can do.
hard for me
Okay.
to commit to.
Right, can you throw that in an email to Tina, Terry, and I, and we can look at our calendars and see if any of us can,
Okay.
that would be awesome.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
great, thank you. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? All right, we will adjourn at 7:38.
Nice job.
Thank you.